Joining me now is NBC News senior Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley and former Assistant U.S. Attorney Mimi Rocha, I should say. So, Julia, what is this MS-13 leader that was arrested today? Have we gotten more details on who he is?
Not necessarily just what you heard there from Kash Patel. They're calling him a leader of MS-13 on the East Coast and one of the top 3 leaders in MS-13. As you know, MS-13 had El Salvadoran roots, but really got to be even bigger here in the United States than it was in El Salvador. It's something that has been a problem for U.S. law enforcement, really going back well over a decade now. These are the kind of announcements we're seeing here. You saw Kash Patel, head of the FBI, Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. We're starting to see more credit taken by the administration and by DOJ, might I add, for going after people in MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, that other Venezuelan gang that is newer to the scene, but another one that they have now issued as a foreign terrorist organization. And they are doing this in a way not only to show the treasures of their hunt, so to speak, to show that there is something worth the people who they're arresting, but especially as it follows all these accusations of people from MS-13 and TDA being sent to that Venezuela or that El Salvadoran jail, that CICOT, where there's now been accusations that not all of them are tied to those gangs. So this is a way for them to go out, say this person has a connection, we've taken them off the street. But we should also be asking how many people it's been taking, how many investigations have been coming from the Justice Department. As we reported earlier in this administration, there were people who were part of an environmental group at DOJ who were told to stop what they were doing, just work on immigration. This has really become the top priority, and we will see people like that arrested when you make this a top priority. But there's also a question of what other investigations are put on the back burner.
Mimi, the appeals court refused to lift that temporary ban on deporting alleged gang members without them first seeing a judge. The next hearing is on the 8th of April. What are you watching for there?
Well, it's interesting, Jose. I mean, the Court of Appeals order was, I thought, very thorough. I mean, the judge who wrote it really went into the whole history of the act and the meaning behind it, and was clear to say, look, I'm not ruling on the merits, but on the other hand, what the government has put forward so far to argue that there's been an invasion by this TDA gang, by this Venezuelan gang, is not sufficient. And that doesn't mean they won't put forward, and they would need to prove that in order to move forward under the act that they've already moved on. So I thought that was an interesting statement by the judge. So we'll be looking to see if the government supplements its evidence about this, quote, invasion, which is a term in the statute that they would need to prove. I also thought it was interesting that the judge basically called out the government on some of their, double talk, tap dancing, which judges do. But it was a number of times in the opinion, including saying, look, you're arguing that this isn't an order in the district court that you have to abide by. And at the same time, and in fact, there's a question as to whether they have abided by it. That's one of the things the judge is going to look at. And at the same time, you are appealing this and saying it's an appealable order. You can't have it both ways. So I do think that there's just real judicial review going on here, as there should be. And the government should be held to a very high standard.
And maybe I have some kind of thinking a lot about this, because some of the men deported on the 15th of March were in our country seeking asylum. They were going through the process. According to the Miami Herald, one man, Frangel Reyes Mota, actually missed his asylum hearing this week because he was sent to that Salvadoran prison. There's a similar case of another Venezuelan man with an asylum appointment, deported before ever seeing a judge. So my question is, what's next for them? I mean, are they just done?
Well, as to those individual cases, I'm sure that they have lawyers who will argue vigorously that these individuals should be brought back and given due process, and their legitimate immigration claims should be heard. I think the broader issue here, which you, like me, have been thinking a lot about, is there is no question, let's be very clear, there is no question that TDA, that MS-13, these are very dangerous gangs. I spent much of my career prosecuting people who were part of gangs like this, including MS-13. And if people commit crimes and violence and are part of these organizations, then they should have accountability, and that may include being deported. But that's not what's happening here. What we're seeing here is just a complete roughshod of due process. And the examples you're giving show that. The government needs, as again, I spent much of my career doing, excuse me, to show that these individuals are actually part of these gangs and that they are actually committing acts that warrant the deportation under the statutes that the government is citing. And none of that has been shown here. And that is why you see the judiciary pushing back and saying, wait a minute, due process. This is a real thing that Americans care about and should care about.
For everyone, including those who are here without documents, but some who actually are going through the process of requesting asylum.
Correct. Which is, something that we, our entire history is built on, allowing people to make claims of actual persecution. And so, these people should have at least the right to make those arguments pertaining to their individualized cases in a court of law.
If you can confirm their TDA, Mara Salvatrucha, or any other of these groups, that's a different thing. Julie Ainsley and Mimi Rocah, thank you so very much. Appreciate it.